Thousands of Afghans have protested against the Taliban for evicting 3,000 families from their homes in Kandahar to house their fighters. Protesters gathered in front of the governor's house in Kandahar after the families were given 3 days to vacate a residential army colony where they lived, despite some of them living there for decades. Footage posted online shows crowds of people marching through the streets of Kandahar chanting, with some raising their hands as if to surrender. Such is the volume of protesters on a main road and junction, traffic can be seen grinding to a halt. Though protesters were predominantly male, separate video showed a group of at least 20 burka-clad women, as well as some without their faces covered, among the demonstrators. The residential army colony facing eviction is predominantly occupied by the families of retired army generals and other members of the Afghan security forces. Taliban spokesman did not immediately respond to a request for comment on the evictions. It comes after the group allegedly also evicted families in the Panjshir Valley and threatened to do the same to people in Daikundi to house their fighters. In other video posted online, a member of the crowd, thought to be a journalist, shows his bruised and swollen arm and can be heard complaining about being beaten by the Taliban. Footage then pans to 5 demonstrators sat or crouching in the middle of the road in apparent protest before the person holding the camera turns to reveal at least 20 more men sat in the street. Several children can be seen among the crowd. Sporadic protests against the Taliban, who swept to power in Afghanistan with the capture of Kabul almost a month ago, have ended in occasionally deadly clashes, although there were no confirmed reports of violence today. Taliban leaders have vowed to investigate any instances of abuse, but have ordered demonstrators to seek permission before holding protests. On Friday, Michelle Bachelet told the UN Human Rights Council the Taliban's response to peaceful protests was becoming increasingly violent. UN staffers have also reported increasing attacks and threats, she added, without providing specifics. Ms. Bachelet also highlighted deeply troubling information about Taliban raids on offices of some advocacy groups. In contradiction to assurances that the Taliban would uphold women's rights, over the past 3 weeks women have instead been progressively excluded from the public sphere, she told the 47-member council as it opened its autumn session. She said girls aged over 12 have been barred from attending school in some places in Afghanistan, and women's affairs departments had been at times dismantled. The Taliban has publicly insisted that its rule of Afghanistan will be more moderate than it was during the 1990s, when its brutal interpretation of Sharia law saw women stripped of their rights along with public floggings and executions. But near-daily stories have emerged of horrors that Afghan people, particularly women and ethnic minorities, are being subjected to under their new rule. Footage that emerged today appeared to show Taliban militants executing an unarmed civilian in a revenge killing in the Panjshir Valley. The footage shows men who appear to be Taliban fighters marching another man to the side of a road before multiple gunshots ring out and he slumps to the floor. It is thought that at least 20 people have been killed in a similar fashion in the valley since it was captured by the Taliban last week. At the weekend, footage emerged which appeared to show Taliban fighters beheading an Afghan soldier before holding his head aloft while chanting. Other footage has shown militants beating and whipping people on the streets as reports emerged of targeted killings and fighters going door to door searching for blue U.S. passports. Ms. Bachelet said she has seen credible reports of Taliban searching house to find and punish anyone who helped the deposed Afghan government. Officials who worked for previous administrations and their family members are being arbitrarily detained, she said. In some cases, the officials were released, and in others, they were found dead. Meanwhile, journalists have also complained of being kidnapped and beaten, though the Taliban insists it wants a free press to operate within the country. The beheading footage emerged just days after Taliban militants executed the brother of one of the Afghan resistance fighters' leaders. The man was the brother of Amrullah Saleh, the former Afghan vice president who became one of the leaders of anti-Taliban opposition forces in the Panjshir Valley.